You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. For our next topic, Nate, let's talk about the growth and development of cricket in the USA, because I think a lot of people have questions about that. How are you incorporating cricket into local communities, clubs, organizations, grassroots coaching, clinics, schools? I know Cricket USA had a strategy, which I read briefly, their foundational plan or something like that, whatever, as many cricket boards do. They had some goals and targets in mind. But cricket in America, Nate, as we've discussed, the long history with each other is quite prominent. Many people have done lots to introduce cricket into the US. Now, obviously, for those who don't know, the first ever international match of cricket was played between the US and Canada, which was in 1844. You put that into context, that was before the first test match in 1877 between Australia and England, which was played in Melbourne at the MCG.
Right.
Don Bradman, the great Don Bradman in 1932, with an Australian touring team, toured Canada and the US to play cricket, which Bradman only agreed to because he recently got married to his wife, and it was their honeymoon. So he said, "I'll go on the tour, but if Lady Jessie, which was his wife, can come, then I'll come." So he did. So and obviously he met Babe Ruth. There's a photo of him and Babe Ruth watching a baseball game at Yankee Stadium. Babe Ruth, one of baseball's finest batters of all time, and meeting one of cricket's finest batters in Don Bradman.
Right.
And then obviously in recent times, there have been some initiatives or, people bringing cricket into the US. The late Shane Warne and Sachin Tendulkar did a thing, Cricket All-Stars, back in 2015. They brought some legends of the game to play at baseball stadiums, Citi Field, Flushing Meadows, New York, Minute Maid Park in Houston, and Dodger Stadium, which are pretty big stadiums in the baseball world in the US. So many people have tried to promote the game in the US, but in order to make it a mainstream sport, Nate, in the US in terms of cricket, the growth and development side is going to be most crucial and critical in that to make that goal a reality, because you need to have a good foundation. Like we do here in Australia, like we do in England, like we do in India. You need to build that. But in the US, a lot of people probably think that's not quite happening. So how do Cricket USA establish grassroots cricket clubs at local communities, competitions, underage pathway systems, facilities? Like you go down to your local park, is there a cricket net that you can practice, or is there a cricket ground? Making cricket accessible to people. Where can you buy cricket equipment? I'm sure many sporting shops in America don't have a helmet or a bat, so you have to get that from online. So you got to make that accessible. Getting cricket into schools, the collegiate sort of system, college or universities. I know they call them colleges in America. We call them universities here,
right,
in Australia. Getting to their sporting programs, because pretty much college sport in America is quite big, as we know. So if you get cricket into that, then that's another pathway for potential athletes to go into. So what challenges does Cricket USA have in this, Nate? Trying to grow and develop cricket in America in the community, build that foundation, because that's where you're going to get your players from, young players, kids getting involved. And do you see cricket becoming a mainstream sport in the US? Because I know Cricket USA said they want to do that by 2030 and become a full member as well. So what are your ideas on that?
Well, a few things. First of all, for reasons I mentioned earlier, we're closer to being a full member nation than we are to having cricket in the NCAA, and that's because of the lack of the women that play cricket. And there are laws about this. You can't just put a new men's team into the university system and not have a women's version. You can, but you're going to have to cancel. You would have to cancel another men's program. So if you have 12 men's programs, you need to have 12 women's programs. And so you're talking about, and there's a long process for getting in the NCAA as a full NCAA member sport. There's a long process. You need a club league first. The club leagues are that run at the schools by the club itself, and there are scholarships in club leagues, but you have to recruit that. You have to recruit that from private people, and so these things don't exist very much in cricket in the USA. There's not, because of the fact that most of the people that play cricket in the USA, I think, in a way, are transient, at least at first. A lot of people who play cricket at the college age have just gotten here to go to college, and so they don't care as much about what they leave behind.
Yeah.
They don't care about the legacy they leave behind, or they don't care about the people who haven't just gotten here who might want to play cricket in college or something like that. So they're not going to band together to build an infrastructure that's going to outlive them. They're not going to do that. So that's one of the problems with college. So I could go on forever about this particular topic, but I won't, so that I can go on forever about others. No, yes, you ask a lot of really, really, really good questions there, Jack. You really do, and these are all these are all fundamental problems that we need to look at the way that you are when you pose these questions, and that is, yes, the local leagues, they're all recreational by and large. They'll play on the worst field you've ever seen in your life. That's got
As many do.
That's got an AstroTurf wicket.
Yeah.
And this is not doing anything for the level of cricket in the USA. This is not doing anything to raise cricket. The average person doesn't care about youth cricket. They want to go out there and have their own fun. And so this is why minor league's so important, because minor league, when minor league started, you could count the number of facilities in the US with a grass turf wicket on one hand. You could count them. And so for a while in minor league cricket, a lot of minor league cricket was played on Astro, on these terrible grounds where the grass is as long as my face. And and so the outfield grass. And outfield is at least as important as the wicket. So, because it teaches you how to make proper cricket shots. So, we have a history of our domestic cricket being singles and sixes, because you can hit a perfect cover drive that's going to get stopped by the grass, or if you really want boundaries, you gotta hit them over the rope. So it's minor leagues addressing that. The infrastructure is by far the hardest challenge in cricket in the USA. We have good cricketers here. We have plenty of good cricketers here, but we don't have the infrastructure. We're getting that. Minor league has a mandate now in their third year that every game has to happen. You saw that there's 26 teams and there's 17 venues, right? The reason why there's not 26 venues is because the mandate says that you have to play on at least a hybrid wicket, or better. That is laying a foundation where all those other questions you asked can get answered. If we don't have that infrastructure going on, how can we grow as a cricketing nation in the appropriate ways? And obviously the next one is access for children. Cricket's a very expensive sport here. Youth sports in the USA are moving towards the upper middle class, like at rocket speed. Every youth sport is turning into travel leagues that cost thousands a year per kid. The average American cannot afford this at all. And cricket is no different than this. Cricket is probably worse. Cricket might be the future of other sports when you look at this. So we need to get it in. People talk about getting it in the schools. That's hard because we don't have schools. We don't have school leagues until middle school or high school. You know what I mean? So what we need to do is the municipal recreational leagues that are public. those need to be these grounds are being left behind by baseball because fewer kids are playing all sports because it's the only sports that exist for them now are the expensive
Yeah.
options, and their parents don't feel that for some reason the value in not having them in a sport where they can pursue a scholarship, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You should be playing the sport because you enjoy it and because it teaches you good lessons and all the reasons we love sports. That's why you should play them. And that's, and so we need to build that culture in the municipal parks and recreations departments of local cities. I feel this way, and I feel this way to the point where I actually have my own program not my own, it's the city's program, but the city of Raleigh. I have one place, the community center across the street from my house, where for 2 seasons every year, I do a beginner cricket session. It's all indoors, and it's all for ages 7 to 12. And it's all about teaching the kids what cricket is and playing the game. We play games the whole time, and we improvise. It's like playing in your backyard. So this is a hard thing to do, and I'm learning the limitations of doing it this way also. And because what happens is you build if you do, all of a sudden you do fill the classroom up every week. Well, now the kids have to have somewhere to go for part 2.
You want to make it more, as they usually say, many people that question coaching in all sports, you have to make it enjoyable for the participants so they come back.
Yeah.
In cricket, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because cricket's an individual sport.
Yeah.
But it's a team game.
Yeah.
But, if you're not really doing much in a game, as we mentioned earlier, the ball may not come to you. You may not even bowl an over or something.
Sure,
you may get out for this ball, and then you don't do anything. So they won't come back.
It's tough.
So you have to make it excitable, and you have to make it attractive to young kids in particular.
Yeah, that's
make them keep coming back and get that sort of cricket bug.
That's exactly right. It's kind of like golf. You make one good. You do one good shot, you want to come back the next week. You clean bowl the best guy in the class one day. Man, now you're a bowler. You know what I mean? Now you're a bowler. It's
But some people can get discouraged by that, knowing that I'm out.
You're right. You're right. But that's okay, because I think every sport presents its lessons to the kids, and I try to tell all these kids. The biggest thing is, I don't care if you're in the middle at Grand Prairie Stadium if you're batting in the middle in the final at Grand Prairie Stadium in Major League Cricket, or if you're in my gym, and we're playing a game and it's the last over and you need 8 to win and there's 4 balls left. The kids get nervous in that situation. They do. It is just a recreational game, and they get nervous. And I always focus on this when I talk with them on that particular thing. I'm like, look, we're here to have a good time. You're gonna get nervous. It's you versus him. It's you versus him or you versus her. It's always gonna be that way. And you know what? Sometimes you go out there and you do your best and you do it perfectly, and then they do it perfectly and they beat you. And so guess what? Shake it off. Move on to the next one. Enjoy the fact that you just experienced that. I try to tell them these things like relax. It's no big deal. And so
it's not like the T20 World Cup final or something. It's not like you're bowling a super over.
No, but in cricket, there's a lot of nervous moments. There's a lot.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about it. And it teaches the kids how to deal with those nervous moments. And you're the center of attention. Everyone's watching you, and your team depends on what you do next. And so these are good lessons the kids can learn. And but right now it's all about all those things that you said. It's all about, there's a giant 20-story ladder, right? And we have the top rungs pristine, beautiful. The last 10 steps, perfect. And we have 3 steps at the bottom that are perfect. And then we have 18 stories of steps in the middle that we need to fill in. Like it's really, really hard. There's a lot that needs to happen, and it's hard to do it. But making things equitable is the only way. Well, making things attainable is the only way. Making it accessible for kids that don't have a lot of money, that's the only way you're going to fill these gaps. Because otherwise, the only people that are playing are the ones that can afford to put a jetpack on and blast off from the 3rd rung to the top floor.
Yeah, pretty much. And cricket's such an expensive sport because you have to buy pads,
It
equipment.
is, but you guys do it so well in Australia. You
Yeah,
guys do it
we have a good
so
system.
well. You got a
We have a
great
really
system.
good system because we have clubs at
Yes.
local levels. Because if you live in the sticks, like
Yeah.
the country, you
Yeah.
have a cricket club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if you're in the cities, you have many cricket clubs in the built-up areas.
Sure.
But the parks, I can walk down the street of my house and I'll go down to the park and there's a net and I can
Yeah.
have a ball or a bat with a friend.
That's great.
Or yeah, because we have a good system. Because
Mhm.
cricket being an established sport in Australia, of course, it's going to happen naturally. This
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of thing. Whereas
Right.
in the US, it's not a national sport.
No, it's a
It's not
business
quite
here.
that. Yeah, so you have
Mhm.
to start from scratch. But we have a good system,
Yeah.
and we have programs for kids, as you mentioned, coaching clinics.
Yeah.
Like if you're a part of a cricket club in Australia, we have a program called Blast Cricket,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you teach junior cricketers for like 10 or so weeks about the game, and you play fun games for like a day every week, maybe during the week or something at your local club.
Yeah.
The one club that I'm playing for here in my area, we have one, and we have kids that play and have fun, have a good time, and just have a good time, and then obviously you play cricket on a Saturday and Sunday with your club mates, your teammates, and you have a good time. You have a drink after the game, which you do in Australia. Maybe a cold one, as we say, a beer. As you do, because that's a part of the cricketing culture in Australia. You have a drink afterwards, but I don't drink. But your teammates do that, and you have a chat with the opposition as well.
Yeah.
So these are the things that US cricket is missing out on, because
Agree
here in
with you.
Australia, camaraderie-ship's a big thing in cricket.
Yeah. Yeah.
You meet such good people in cricket, outside cricket or playing cricket, your teammates, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just feel like if the game is to grow in America, you need to have the good foundational base.
You need real club systems, is what we need.
You need domestic club systems in region. Just even like, doing coaching clinics in school, which they do here in Australia.
Yeah.
The state association, like all the states and the territories have their own bodies.
Yeah.
And there's Cricket Australia that make up the country.
Yeah.
And they have programs that we're going to have coaching clinics. We're going to go to schools in the country and the cities and get kids involved in cricket. But whereas the US, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a hard thing because they don't really have those sort of things. So
yeah. No, this is why I like the fact that that there's 2 Australian state boards that are involved in Major League Cricket. This is why I really like the New South Wales setup. Lee Germain is their CEO, and I think he's really plugged in. You got Michael Klinger, who's the GM of the team, and then you got Patrick Farhart, who's also helping out with the team in I think a physio capacity, but also in a management capacity too. Now these guys had great conversations with each of these fellas, and they understand. They really do express interest in helping the domestic product here, and so I think I have a lot of I have a lot of respect for them. James as well from the San Francisco Unicorns. But yes, these fellas from New South Wales, if they can, I was so excited about that because they do things so well. If they could emulate some of that in the DC area for that DC team.
Sorry to cut in there, Nate. They are the strongest cricketing state in the history of Australian cricket.
They're the strongest cricketing state in the world.
Pretty well in Australia. They are. They won 9 Sheffield Shields in a row, I think.
Jeez. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
They're well driven. It's the same with their BBL, WBBL teams, the Sydney Thunder, the Sixers.
Yeah, and
they have so much success.
In talking to them, they're like, we think that we would like to build, and they want to build an advantage in a competitive advantage by kind of like working with the domestic structure here and helping to create one and helping to make it better. Now, in order for them to get the competitive advantage that they want, there's going to have to be some rule changes about the retentions and about how the league drafts. And you want to motivate guys like this to say, okay, look, build your academies, build your system, build your club system, however you want to, and then keep the players that come through there. Otherwise,
and then you have underage carnivals and pathways.
Yeah.
And like we do here in Australia, under 15s, under 16s, under 17s.
Yeah. So if you motivate, if you can give them that incentive to do that, I think these guys will. It's just obviously it's a massive investment, and they have to see something in it for themselves.
You have to have enthusiastic people.
You do.
You've got to have people that care and that really want this to succeed.
Right.
That's the only way that's stopping you.
Yeah. And if
it's like talking to a brick wall, you're not going to get a response.
Right.
You're bashing it hard.
Yeah.
Come on, you can see the potential here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. But there's so red tape and all this stuff.
Well, yeah.
It's very frustrating.
And the way that these guys think is the way that the New South Wales guys think isn't like, well, we have to go out and get our instant victory this moment and destroy whatever and forget about the long term. Just go out. You know what I mean? They're used to thinking about building something bigger that becomes a powerhouse. And so if they can, and here's some incentive for them. If they build some kind of a decent platform here, or something, we have opposite summers as Australia.
Yeah.
So if we have some kind of a good system, some kind of a good club structure or something like that, you could send young, aspiring cricketers over here in the wintertime to play in minor league or to play in whatever you establish yourself. And we could send ours to them. And that's a great trade. And imagine how much better our cricketers could be spending a summer in Australia playing, high level club cricket or something. That would be ridiculous.
Club grade cricket or Premier cricket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. If our U23s can go there and spend a summer, they'll come back.
You'll learn a lot.
They'll learn a lot.
You'll learn a lot about Australian culture. You learn how cricket's played here.
Yeah.
And to have a good time because you're here for. And that's the case with many other players that come here as professionals to play for clubs or anything like that.
Yeah.
You just there to have a good time, but learn as well.
That's right.
Talking to people.
Yeah.
And we do that so well in Australia. And that's why our participation numbers at junior level for boys and girls have increased over the last few years.
Something you should be proud of. You should be super proud of it.
Especially women's cricket, I think. The growth of women's cricket has definitely taken off in Australia big time.
Absolutely.
Because you've seen the women's team, they just win everything,
Right.
They're pretty
like our women's soccer. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, got knocked out recently in the Women's World Cup here in Australia, the US team. Sorry to bring that up, Nate, but
no, that's okay. Hey, you know what? It's nice to see the new challenges arising, and I think we just need to step up to the challenge. That's it, and the focus just needs to get sharper. That's all.
Yeah, so hopefully Cricket USA can take stock of this and listen to
this podcast.
Well, listen, yes, we're not big by any means, but we want cricket to succeed in all parts of the world. We want it to prosper.
Yeah.
Great to see countries doing that.
Yeah.
But you just need to build that base. If you build that base, it will be strong. And hopefully it will take off in the US, which many people are questioning about.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed hearing Nate and I discuss the growth and development of cricket in the USA. Make sure you check out Emerging Cricket and Big Innings and support Nate in the good work he is doing in promoting cricket in the USA. Links to those are in the description of this episode.